Hey y'all, in this lesson, we're going to be using percentages to figure out tax, discount, and commission. Before we get into that, let's review converting percentages. So before we can set up these word problems, it's helpful to convert percentages to decimal form so that if you're doing it by hand or if you're plugging it into a scientific calculator, then you're plugging in the correct thing. So go ahead and pause the video and try these first three up here, converting them to decimal form, and then come back and check. Remember that when we start with a percent and we want to move it to a decimal, we move the decimal left because we're dividing by 100 two places. So this would be 0.10. This one would be 0.034. And this one would be 1.15, all in decimal form. And we're going to use that for the examples below. For an item to have a tax on it, that means an amount is going to be added. I think we're all pretty familiar with tax at this point. Onto the original price of the item. The amount is dependent upon a percentage given based on several factors. So this might depend on the state you live in, or it may depend on inflation or whatever. So there's several things that can change. I know, personally speaking, that when I was shopping in Pennsylvania, that's where my family's from, when I was shopping in Pennsylvania, they didn't have tax on things like clothes, whereas in Texas, we do. So it just kind of depends on where you live. If you buy an item that was $23.95 and tax is 8.25%, then what is your total amount when you check out at the register? Total amount. So we're just going to kind of step this through logically first, and then, we'll just do that. So we have an item that costs $23.95. And we also know that the tax is 8.25%. Let's go ahead and convert that to decimal form. And we also know that tax is added on. So first we need to figure out how much is being added on. We know that it's 8.25%, but that's not the dollar amount. That's just the amount of the item that's going to be taxed on. So we know that the item is $23.95. And we know that they're taxing us 0.0825 and of that amount, of whatever amount you buy. And so first we need to figure out what that is. And you don't have to do this by hand. You can use your calculator. I'm gonna pull that up to the side here. We've got $23.95, and then we're gonna do 8.25% of that. 25, enter, and we get about $1.98 if we're rounding to the nearest cent because of the 5 after the 7. So do you think that this is the total amount of my purchase, $1.98? No. If our original price was $23.95, then my total is not going to be $1.98. What is this amount? What am I going to do with this amount? It's a tax, so I'm going to add it to the original, which means I'm going to take $23.95. I'm going to add $1.98. And then that will give me my total. When we add those two amounts, we get $25.93 for your total at the cash register. Now, tip is kind of like tax in that we are adding on that amount to our total bill. And there are tip calculator apps that you can download if you feel like that would benefit you, but you can do tip pretty easily and pretty quickly if you just think about it logically. Remember that a tip is an amount dependent upon a percent that the customer decides, or for large parties at a table, the percentage may be decided for you, and that's called gratuity. And that means that they've gone ahead and added in the tip, and anything that you tip above that is just extra. So if your meal was $17.95 and you want to tip 20%, then what will your total bill be? Go ahead and try it and come back. Pause it, try it, come back. Based on the previous example, I went ahead and wrote out kind of an equation for this based on what we know is happening. We know that we are going to be charged the price of our meal, plus we want to do a 20% tip on the price of our meal. So we have the price of the meal plus the tip. Now, if you're at a restaurant and you don't have an app or a calculator or whatever, and you're just trying to eyeball what you think it might be, a good thing that is pretty easy and pretty quick, and this is what I always do, is I go ahead and round up to the next dollar, 18, and then I multiply by 2, 36. So that's $3.60 extra, and I just add that on. It's very quick, very simple. And you can do that for 10%, 20%, 15%, whatever. If you just round a little bit and get an estimate, then that's going to give you a good dollar amount that you can add on to your bill for your waitress or waiter. And we can see here, this one's going to be a little bit more exact, but you're going to see how close I got with my estimation. The tip was actually $3.59. I said $3.60, very close and easier to add if you go ahead and round it a little bit. So we've got $17.95 plus the tip for a total bill of $21.54. That's all you have to do. Very simple math. If you can just kind of round it and estimate it, then you can do things very quickly, make snap decisions, and figure out what your bill is going to be. For an item to have a discount on it, that means that the amount is subtracted, not added. Discount means subtracted from the original price. This amount is dependent upon a percent given based on the sale or the deal. And this is something also, if you're out shopping, that instead of pulling out your phone and calculating your discount every time, you can kind of do this like you do a tip. You can round up your price, multiply by the front number of the discount, subtract that off, and you get an idea as to what it's going to be. That way, when you get to the register, it's not a surprise. Unless they have like an added discount that you're unaware of. That's always really exciting. If you buy an item that was $23.95 and is on clearance, I love clearance, for 40% off, then what is your total amount when you check out at the register? Go ahead and try to write a little expression like I did on the tip example, and try it on your own, pause it, try it on your own, and come back and check. So if you wrote an expression, it should look something like this, where we have our original amount minus, because it's discount, 40% of our original amount. And again, you can do a little bit of rounding. You can do $24 times 4, make that a dollar amount, subtract it off. Very simple. And this little piece here, the pink part, is the discounted amount. So that's the dollar amount that's being taken off of our original price. And we could just type that in the calculator. I don't want to do it by hand, so that's not the point of the lesson necessarily. So $23.95 minus $23.95 times 40%. There are some calculators where you can just type in 40%, not this one though. So I have to do decimal form. And we get our total price of $14.37. I want to show you a really cool trick that's a little bit faster. Let's think about this logically. Math is the language of logic. So let's think about it logically. If we are taking off 40% of the total price, then that means the remaining percent is what we owe, right? So if it's 40% off discounted, then that means that we're going to end up paying 60% of the cost of the item. So let's just kind of put that over to the side here, and let's just see. Let's test it out. Whoops. $23.95 times 60%. This is called the complement, which I've talked about in previous videos with sets. This is the complement of the original percentage. So 40% off means that we pay 60%, the remaining piece. So I'm going to type that in, $23.95 times 60%. Pretty cool, right? So it's one less step. We don't have to subtract anything. It's just multiplication, which is a little bit faster. And if you're going to be doing it by hand in a store or in your mentally in the store, let's say it's Black Friday and you're shopping really quick and people are grabbing stuff, and I don't know, I'm making something up, but you have to do it really quick in your mind. Can't pull up that phone for the calculator. You can do one step, multiply it by 60%, and you have your discounted price, total price. So, and again, if you're doing this mentally, you could do 24 times 6, do it up real quick. There's your price. Anyway, I love this stuff. Super fun. A commission rate is a percentage of the entire sale that an employee gets as part of their pay. So anyone who is like a salesman, so if a car salesman is going to get a commission off of any car that they sell, and it's usually based on a percent. Or I know someone who sells luxury sheets and she gets a commission. So there's any kind of salesperson usually will get a commission, and it's just a percentage of whatever you sold. That's what you get as part of your paycheck. A woman working on commission makes $500 for selling $6,100 worth of merchandise. What is her commission rate? Ooh, this one's fun because it's kind of backwards. We've been given what she got, and we were given what the item sold for. And so now we're trying to kind of work backwards to figure out that percent. This is really going to relate to the video I did, the lesson I did on percent, amount, and base. And the way I prefer to write these is kind of with an equation. There's other ways you can look at it logically, but I'm going to go ahead and follow that same pattern and write an equation first. So she made $500. So 500 is a percentage, we don't know what, of $6,100. Of means times. And I've created this equation, and then now I just solve for X by dividing by 6,100 there. And we get, whoops, there we go. 500 divided by 6,100 is about 0.082. This is rounded, so I'm going to put the little squiggly marks. That means approximated because I rounded it. So it's going to be a little bit off because of that rounding, but close enough. And then that is decimal form of the percent. So we would convert that to percent to get about 8.2% commission rate. You could also look at it, I said you could look at it logically, so I want to pursue that. You could also look at it as, you know, that 500 is the part or the amount of the base or the whole. Just divide those, get your percent, and you're done. But it's the same process, just looks a little different. That's all I have for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'd be happy to help. See you in the next one.